Hello everyone, it's Michael Lazar here and welcome back to the channel where we talk about Byzantine music, music theory, and singing technique. Now today, we are going to be covering a topic in Byzantine music that is important. It is called a Thora. Thora in Greek means to corrupt, and in Byzantine notation, it corrupts the scale in that it either changes the scale's position or the scale that you are using. So in order to explain this concept, we're first going to use Western notation so it's easier to put into Byzantine chant. So let's begin. We have the C major scale. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And now, with that scale, we should know one thing. There are no sharps, no flats. And the bass note is C. Now, let's make the bass note D and keep the fact that there's no sharps or flats. C, D, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Now, as we see, we haven't changed the key signature at all. We've just simply switched the bass note. Let's do it with E now. D, E, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. Now, look at this. It's the same scale, but we're just switching the bass note. In Western notation, this is known as the diatonic modes. There's Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. We have all of these scales in Western music. Now, in Byzantine music, the way this works is that you put a symbol and it changes the bass note to that scale, degree, or position on the diatonic scale. And I'm going to explain this even further. So in Western music, the scales are broken up into a pattern of whole steps and half steps. In the major scale, it's whole step, half step, whole step, half step. That's how you create the scale. In Byzantine scale, we have the 72 morea that are divided up across the scale. So what's happening here is that when you're shifting the bass note of the scale, you're simply switching the order of whole steps and half steps. In Byzantine scale, you're simply switching the order of morea. So here I have a set of intervals. This is the Western, whole steps and half steps, and Byzantine and the morea. Now, something interesting that I think is important to look at here is that if we choose to make one pitch the bass note, we can know every interval that comes after it. For example, if we take the E in the C major scale, C, D, E, I know that there's going to be a half step and 3 hollow steps and a half step after it. Likewise, let's say I want to choose, let's say the note Pa. I know after Pa, I'm going to have 10, 8, 12, 12, 10, 8. I know I'm going to have all of these after the Pa interval. Now knowing this, we can shift the pitch in any scale and determine what intervals come after it. So here we have all the Thora in Byzantine chant. Now, one thing a Thora can do is switch the scale. We can either go from diatonic to hard chromatic or soft chromatic. Or what a Thora can do is switch the intervals on an existing scale. So let's say I'm on the diatonic scale and I want to make a minor sound. I would simply put one of these Thoras. For example, let's say I wanted to switch the intervals. Let's say I'm starting on diatonic Ni. Ni, pa, vu, la, vu, pa, ni. And let's say I put this Thora on top of the initial pitch. Pa. So instead of starting on Ni, I'm going to start on Pa. Pa, vu, ra, vi, ra, vu, pa. The pitch stays the same. Ni, pa, vu, pa, ni. Pa, vu, ra, vi, ra, vu, pa. So what you can see I'm doing is maintaining the scale, but I'm just switching the intervals around. Let's look at this in action. So right here we have a normal diatonic scale. Ni, pa, vu, ra, di. Nothing weird. Let's add a Thora to corrupt the scale. Let's add it for diatonic on Pa. Ni, pa, vu, ra, di. Let's put this on Ni. So the pitch stays the same. Ni. But however, it becomes Pa now. Ni becomes Pa. That means the intervals change. Originally it's 12, 10, 8, 12. So, Ni, Pa, 12. Pa, vu, 10, vu, ra, 8, ra, di, 12. Now, becomes different. Ni, pa, vo. This becomes 10. Ra, di, ke, pa, vo, ra, di, ke. Instead of ni, pa, vo, ra, di, pa, vo, ra, di, ke. Changes from major to minor. Why? Because we simply added a Thora. Now let's look what happens if we change the actual scale rather than the position of the original scale. So let's see these chromatic Thora in action. Let's begin with the hard chromatic Thora. Let's say I want to make some interesting chromaticism. I put this on vo. Ni, pa, vo, ra, di, ke, di, ra, vo, pa, ni. What did I just do? I added this, made it a little hard chromatic cadence. So from here to here, ni, pa, vo, the same. Vo, ra, di, ke, di, ra, vo, becomes pa, vo, ra, di, ra, vo, pa. Now let's see what happens if we put the hard chromatic on the cadence. So, ni, pa, vo, ra, di, ke, zo, ni, zo, ke, di. Di, ra, vo, pa, ni. Ni, pa, vo, ra, di, ke, zo, ni, zo, ke, di, ra, vo, pa, ni. Interesting. The hard chromatic Thoras are more straightforward. Now let's look at the soft chromatic Thora. Because they can take so many notes. Let's look at this theoretically. We know that soft chromatic is repeating intervals of 8 and 14. So what happens is that when you have this interval, the notes above it are going to be 14 Maria, the notes below are going to be 8 Maria. So let's just write them down. For this one, the notes above it are going to be 8 Maria and 14 Maria. Or 12 Maria, depending on where you are on the scale. So I'm going to put 14/12. So let's look at this. Ni, pa, vo, ra, di, ke, zo, ni. Let's add this Thora here. Why? Because the interval is going to be 8 underneath it. Di, ke, zo, ni, zo, ke, di, zo, ke, di, ra, vo, pa, ni. Likewise, let's add this Thora here. Let's add this Thora, ni, pa, vo, ra, di, here. Look what happens here. Ni, pa, vo, ra, di, ke, zo, ni, zo, and then zo, ke, di, ra. Let's change it back to diatonic. This is not enough. Vo, pa, ni. So we have two Thoras now. Let's see how it sounds. Ni, pa, vo, ra, di, ke, zo, ni, zo, ke, di, ra, vo, pa, ni. Look at that. We went from chromatic to diatonic. Why? Well, this is the Thora for soft chromatic on the, vo, ni, or zo. This is the Thora for diatonic on vo. So now we know how to use Thora for diatonic, hard chromatic, and soft chromatic scales. Now one thing that's very important, when you're starting off, you should be writing in the intervals. And why should you do that? So you understand what the Thora is doing, how it is shifting the scales, and what new intervals are coming about. This will improve your accuracy, and it will improve your overall knowledge of the theory. I hope you found the video helpful. If you did, I would greatly appreciate if you liked and subscribed. Other than that, I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.